about sales tax, tips, and markup. Sales tax is a percent of the purchase price and a small amount in addition to the purchase price. Tip and gratuity is a small amount of money in return for a service. The amount of store increases the price of an item is called a markup. So those are some of the vocabulary terms that we're going to be using along these notes. All right. For example, one, it says soccer. Find the total amount of a $17.75 soccer ball if the sales tax is 6%. So, as we're going through these and as you continue to go through these, make sure you see what the question's asking for. So, sales tax is usually going to be a small amount, all right? But if they're asking for the total price, you would have to add that amount to the original price. One way I like to think about it, and you could do this off to the side, I always like to write percent of a number because we're going to try to figure out what the percent of a number is. So for method one, they tell us what we could do is first find the sales tax. When we're trying to find the sales tax, we're going to find 6% of $17.75. So that falls right into the line of percent of a number. We're looking for 6% of $17.75. But as you notice, we can't multiply by a percent. We can't multiply by a percent. What we're going to have to do is turn that percent into a decimal. The way we turn a percent into a decimal is what I like to call the Dr. Pepper rule because it's DP. All right. So with the Dr. Pepper rule, we could turn a decimal into a percent or a percent into a decimal. And it's really simple, and I'll show you how. So they gave us a percent here. So I'm going to start off in front of the P since they gave us a percent. We want to turn that percent into a decimal. So all we're going to do is move our decimal 2 places over to the left. So for 6%, I'm just going to go right in front of that 6, and I'm going to move the decimal 2 places over. And notice there's a little hump here, or a little peak here. I have to include a 0. So now I have 600ths. So, and they already did it off to this step. We're going to multiply 600ths times 17 and 75 hundredths, which gets us a sales tax of $1.07. Now, if the question was just asking for the sales tax, then we'll be done. That's it. But they want to know what the new price is or what the regular price is with the tax added on. So we're going to add $1.07 to $17.75, which gets us our answer of $18.82. All right, now here's the second method. And I usually go with method one, but I'm not everybody. So maybe this method works better for you. So method two says if we're looking for 6%, we're going to add 100% because 100% is full. All right, your battery can never be at 101% and 105%. The full price is 100%. But we're asking, but sales tax is going to give it a 6% increase. So we're going to add 100 to 6. So now we're talking about 106%. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the total cost, which is 106% of the regular price. So we're going to find percent of a number here, but now that percent is 106% of $17.75. All right. Of tells us to multiply. I'm going to drop that dollar sign. All right, and now we need to figure out what 106% is as a decimal because we can't multiply with the percent. All right, we can't multiply with the percent. We have to change our percents to decimals. So I'm going to do the Dr. Pepper rule again. I have a percent, and I want to change that percent to a decimal. So I'm going to go in front of the P. I'm going to move 2 spaces over, and now I have a decimal. So I'm going to go over here to 106. I'm going to move 2 spaces over, and now I'm right here in between the 1 and the 0. So now we know we're going to multiply 1 and 600ths by 17 and 75 hundredths. And that's what they did here on the notes, and they got the same answer. So both ways you get the same answer. All right, moving on to the next example. This is example 2. A customer wants to leave a 15% tip on a bill for $18.50 at a restaurant. All right, so method 1, of course, we're going to do percent of a number. And the percent we're talking about here is 15% of, and that number is $18.50. All right, so of tells us to multiply. The word of tells us to multiply. I'm going to drop the dollar sign. And now we got to figure out what 15% is as a decimal. So we'll do our Dr. Pepper rule. They gave us a percent, and we want to change that percent to a decimal. So I'm going to move my decimal 2 places over. I'm going to go to 15%, and I'm going to move that decimal 2 places over. And now we have 15 hundredths, which is exactly what the note said. So we're going to do 15 hundredths times 18 and 5/10, or 18 and 50 hundredths, which gets us $2.78. And again, if they only ask for how much the tip would be, that would be your answer. But they want to know what the new total is going to be. So you'll have to add those two, and you'll get your answer there. All right. So, and we could do that second one, but we know that we'll end up with the same answer. But you'll just add 100 to 15, and then move your decimal 2 places over and multiply that times 18 and 50 hundredths. All right. So this is our practice sheet. We'll go over a couple of these. I'll also attach it on Canvas. So if you want to print it out and go over it, you can as well. But I say we do a couple of these and we'll call it day. So let's look at number 1. I always like to write down percent. I always like to write down percent. Do I not have a pen up? There we go. Percent of a number. It kind of gives me a good starting point to know what I need to do. So it's telling us to find the total cost to the nearest cent. Since we're finding the total cost, that means after we find the tax, we're going to have to add it back on to what that original price was. So I know the percent we're talking about is 6%. The word of tells us to multiply. And we are referring to $22.95 here. All right. So I'm going to do the Dr. Pepper rule. DP. They gave me a percent, and I want to turn that percent into a decimal, so I'm going to have to move 2 spaces over. So at 6%, I'm going to move 2 spaces over. I got a peak here, so I got to fill it with a 0. So now we have 6 hundredths times 22 and 95 hundredths. So we'll multiply here. So we're going to multiply 22 and 95 hundredths times 6 hundredths. 6 times 5 is going to give me 30. 9 times 6 is 54, plus 3 is 57. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 5 is 17. And then 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. All right, and then I could do that last row, but you don't have to. I know that there's 2 spaces behind the decimals here, and there's 2 here. So that's a total of 4 spaces. So I'm going to move 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces over. And now notice we have 1 and what's that? 3,770 ten thousandths. Now that's not a dollar amount. So this looks crazy. Like, man, how do we do this? But remember, when we're talking about money, we stop in the hundredth place. But it told us to round to the nearest cent. So I'm going to underline what's in the hundred space and draw an arrow to what's in the thousand space. If we're rounding to the nearest hundred or nearest cent, which is the same thing round to nearest hundred, I'm going to look at this 7. This 7 is going to tell this 7 to go up. Remember, 5 or more, let it soar. 4 or less, let it rest. 7 is going to tell the other 7 to go up to 8. So now we know our sales tax is going to equal $1.38. But they want to know the total price. I'm running out of colors here. Let's go with blue. They want to know the total price, so we're going to have to add $2.29 to $1.38. And notice I'm lining up my decimals here, making sure everything is underneath each other. So 5 plus 8 is going to give me 13. Carry the 1 here. That's going to give me 13 again. 4 here, and then I have 2. So now we know our total is going to equal $24.33. So that's all there is to it on that one. And then we'll do one more. We'll do number 3. So again, I like starting off with percent of a number. I'm going to look at the percent, which is 4%. Of tells me to multiply, and that number is 10 and 85 hundredths. All right, we're going to have to do the Dr. Pepper rule here, so I'm going to put DP. They gave us a percent, and I want to turn that percent to decimal, so I know I'm going to have to move 2 spaces over to the left. So I'm going to move 2 spaces over. I have a peak here, so I'm going to put a 0 in that place. So now I have 4 hundredths times 10 and 85 hundredths. So now we're going to go ahead and multiply. All right, so we're going to multiply 10 and 85 hundredths times 400. So first thing I'm going to do is, well, actually, since we're multiplying, we don't have to line up our decimals here. We could just go ahead and start multiplying, which is the best part. All right, so 4 times 5 is going to give me 20. 8 times 4 is going to give me 32, plus 2 is 34. And then 0 times 4 is 0, plus 3 is 3. And then 1 times 4 is 4. And I know there's 1, 2, 3, 4 places behind the decimal. So I'm going to move over 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. Now we're left with 4,340 ten thousandths. So if we're talking about to the nearest cent, we're going to underline what's in the hundredth spot, which is a 3, and draw an arrow to what's in the thousandth spot, which is a 4. That 4 is going to tell the 3 to stay the same. Remember, 5 or more, let it score. 4 or less, let it rest. So our tax here is going to equal 43 cents. All right, that's all the tax is. But we want to know the total. So we are going to add $10.85 to 43 cents. And that leaves us with a total of $11.28. All right, so that concludes our notes today. If you have any questions, please let me know. and I'll attach this if you guys want to continue working on it. All right.